Noir Plasma Chrome Bleed. Unlocking knowledge, inspiring innovation, empowering curious minds.
This website makes learning so easy. I found all my resources here.
Like what you share.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We aren't just going to look at abstract marketing science. We're basically strapping on our hard hats and taking on a massive construction project. We're going to take some really complex, highly theoretical frameworks of advanced marketing and bridge them directly over to actual business execution. By the time we wrap up, you'll understand exactly how the most sophisticated enterprises out there synthesize their digital ecosystems, their brand architecture, and their sales operations into one unstoppable growth engine. Okay, let's dive right into this. 61.7%. That is, honestly, it's a staggering number. According to the research, 61.7% of enterprise organizations report having an entirely unclear understanding of how their individual digital channels actually drive incremental revenue. I mean, think about that multi-million-dollar problem for a second. More than half of major enterprises, and hey, maybe even yours, are essentially flying blind. They're pouring massive amounts of capital into digital ecosystems without a true mathematical understanding of what is actually generating a return. Well, today, we are going to solve that problem.
So, here is the architectural blueprint for our machine. First, we'll install the fuel with digital ecosystems. Then, we'll set our navigation with algorithmic attribution. After that, we'll build the chassis with strategic brand architecture, deploy our operators through sales governance, and finally, synthesize the whole thing in the integrated blueprint.
Let's kick things off with Part 1, Digital Ecosystems and Journeys. Think of this as the fuel of our machine. Modern marketing has totally evolved from simple, tactical execution into this highly adaptive, technology-enabled strategic process. We're operating in incredibly complex stakeholder networks now. Just look at how the digital landscape has shifted. Back in the 1990s, Digital 1.0 was basically just a static HTML broadcast. It was a one-way street. Then, Web 2.0 and 3.0 brought us social media and peer-to-peer co-creation. Fast forward to 2011, and Digital 4.0 gave us ubiquitous mobile tracking and programmatic media. And today, we are fully living in Digital 5.0. It's an era entirely defined by AI, machine learning automation, creator economies, and real-time algorithmic personalization. We aren't just broadcasting anymore, we're co-creating value in real time. Just think about how TikTok algorithms or AI product recommendations somehow anticipate exactly what you want before you even click.
Because of this massive evolution, the customer journey now unfolds across a huge array of multi-dimensional touchpoints, and they generally fall into 4 distinct categories. First up, you have brand-owned touchpoints. Think of your official website. You have total control here, and it's meant for direct conversions. Second are partner-owned touchpoints, like an ad network, where you're essentially sharing the funnel. Third, customer-owned, which reflects authentic post-purchase usage, basically how they actually use your product in their own home. And finally, social or external touchpoints, like a Yelp review that shapes your reputation through social proof. This whole journey, it is entirely non-linear. Quantifying exactly how value gets created across all these touchpoints is absolutely critical if you want to optimize your marketing capital and stop wasting your budget on things that just don't convert.
Which brings us to Part 2, Algorithmic Marketing Attribution Models.
So if digital ecosystems are our fuel, how do we mathematically track where we're actually going? Enter our navigation system. Now here's the crazy part. A massive 44% of corporate advertisers are still using last touch attribution. This is a heuristic bias that assigns 100% of the conversion credit to the very final interaction point. If you're doing this, you're systematically overfunding bottom-of-funnel channels like branded search, and you're aggressively underfunding upper-funnel channels like display advertising and content marketing. It is literally like giving 100% of the credit for a touchdown to the player who crossed the goal line while completely ignoring the quarterback who threw the 50-yard pass to get them there. To fix this structural bias, we absolutely have to move to algorithmic attribution. This uses data-driven models to fairly distribute credit across the entire customer journey.
So how do we actually do that? Well, one way is using higher-order Markov chains. Now, don't let the dense math intimidate you. Just think of it as mapping out every possible detour a customer could take. To find out what a channel is actually worth, we use something called the removal effect. We mathematically simulate exactly how many sales would just vanish into thin air if you completely deleted one channel, say email marketing, from the map. It measures the pure sequential path dependency of your channels.
Another absolutely brilliant algorithmic approach comes straight from cooperative game theory, the Shapley value. Imagine your marketing channels are like players on a sports team. The Shapley value pays each channel based on its marginal contribution to a win. It literally tests every single combination of players on the field. And it operates on these strict fair rules, like the dummy player axiom, which basically means if a channel adds absolutely zero marginal conversions, it gets zero credit. No free riders allowed. Plus, modern machine learning can now integrate non-converted, pending pipeline leads right into these exact models, which allows us to accurately predict future revenue from open leads. It's a real game changer.
Moving right along to Part 3, Strategic Brand Architecture Frameworks.
Okay, so we have the fuel, and we know exactly how to track the customer's journey mathematically. But what is the actual identity they're interacting with? Let's take a look at the chassis of our machine. David Aker's brand relationship spectrum establishes the driver role in the consumer's purchasing decision. On one end of the spectrum, you have a branded house, like Virgin. The master brand drives literally everything. This gives you the highest investment efficiency, but it comes with maximum spillover risk, meaning if one product fails, the whole brand takes a hit. On the far other end, you have a house of brands, like Procter & Gamble, with Tide and Pampers. These are totally autonomous brands. This completely isolates your risk, but it costs an absolute fortune to build and maintain each of those brands independently from the ground up. Right in the middle, you have sub-brands like the Apple iPhone, and endorsed brands like Courtyard by Marriott, which sort of balance that synergy and risk.
But how does a brand actually hold value? Well, the research points to customer-based brand equity, or CBB, which was defined by Kevin Lane Keller back in 1993. It's all about memory nodes. Think of this as highly valuable real estate inside the consumer's brain. If they hear your brand name, what instantly pops into their head? CBB is structured by brand awareness, so how well a consumer recognizes and recalls your brand, and brand image. Brand image is the cognitive associations linked directly to that memory node. To be valuable, these associations have to have favorability, strength, and uniqueness. When you're extending your brand portfolio, you have to make absolutely sure these core associations remain relevant without accidentally diluting your master brand.
All right, Part 4, Sales Operations and Channel Governance.
So we have our fuel, our navigation system, and our chassis. Now, who is actually operating this sales engine on the ground? Have you ever wondered why some enterprises hire these massive salaried internal sales forces, while others just outsource everything to independent reps? Well, it all comes down to transaction cost economics. The core question an enterprise has to answer is, should a firm hire a direct, internal sales force, which is a hierarchy, or should it outsource distribution to independent contractors, the market? Ultimately, the goal here is to minimize your total governance costs.
The really crucial point is understanding the transactional drivers that dictate this choice. The biggest one is asset specificity. Basically, does your product require highly specialized technical expertise, like, say, selling robotic surgical equipment, or is it just a simple commodity? If you have high asset specificity combined with high market uncertainty and, the bounded rationality of humans, outsourcing becomes highly dangerous. Independent reps might act opportunistically, maybe taking your trade secrets, or just neglecting your complex product for an easier sell elsewhere. In these cases, the research is crystal clear. You have to keep your sales team strictly in-house under hierarchical control to protect your investments.
Okay, so once you have your team, how do you pay them? Agency theory models the firm as the principal and the sales rep as the agent. Because a rep's actual day-to-day effort is pretty hard to observe, we use compensation contracts. And the math here is fascinating. If the market is incredibly volatile, your reps are naturally going to panic. The math actually says you should decrease their variable commission rate and boost their base salary to shield them from that market noise. Otherwise, they're just going to quit. Conversely, If representative effort directly drives sales conversions without much market interference at all, you significantly increase the variable commission rate to aggressively drive their productivity.
And finally, Part 5, the Integrated Enterprise Blueprint. We've examined all the individual components. Now we have to synthesize these silos into a sustainable, integrated enterprise growth engine. First up, our navigation system informs the fuel. Algorithmic attribution, specifically those Markov removal effects and Shapley values we talked about earlier, provides purely objective channel productivity metrics. These insights allow the enterprise to confidently allocate resources. It finally proves the value of top-of-funnel brand investments that those older, rule-based systems would normally just ignore. It perfectly balances your go-to-market capital so you can finally stop wasting money on the wrong ads.
Second, the chassis protects the whole operation. Establishing a clear brand architecture, knowing exactly who the driver is, completely eliminates market confusion across multi-publisher digital campaigns. It governs how you show up in the world, ensuring your master brand doesn't get diluted by some confusing sub-brand campaign as you scale up and expand into entirely new product categories.
Finally, the operators are perfectly aligned with the machine. By balancing transaction costs for territory alignment and designing agency theory compensation contracts that actually match the market volatility, you ensure that the behavior of your frontline sales team mirrors your corporate financial targets exactly. The incentives drive the exact behaviors that the attribution model proves are actually working.
Which leaves us with the ultimate question. We've seen exactly how digital ecosystems, mathematical attribution, brand architecture, and sales economics all interlock to create this high-performance commercial machine. So, looking at your own organization right now, are your parts perfectly aligned, or are you bleeding capital because your departments are stuck operating in silos? It is a critical question you need to answer. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Now go take a look at your own blueprint and keep building.
Like what you share.
This website makes learning so easy. I found all my resources here.
Noir Plasma Chrome Bleed. Unlocking knowledge, inspiring innovation, empowering curious minds.